What the f? This week has been one heck of a ride. At first, the SBA was telling us they were processing EIDL advances and loan increases at a record pace. Then we hear Congress is going to take billions of dollars away from the EIDL program. Then, just as we were starting to take our breath, we hear, no, that's not exactly true. They're not really killing EIDL. So what is going on, and why is DC such a cluster? All this and more in today's video. Hello and welcome to Stephen Carlson Show. I'm Stephen Carlson. I'm a tech entrepreneur, real estate investor, author, YouTuber, paramedic, and Bonnie and Clyde are currently in the living room pouting because it's been raining for days and they can't go outside in the backyard and chase squirrels. As you guessed it, here's the spot in the video where I normally would be asking you to comment down below with hashtag Team EIDL, share this video, etc., and demand that someone in DC do something to fix all the problems that they have created for all of our small businesses. And while I still hope that you do that, as business owners, we have responsibilities to our businesses, and we just cannot sit around and wait for DC to fix these things. We need to focus on what we can all collectively do to improve our businesses, rather than just waiting on the idiots in the federal government to provide us stimulus. But EIDL is still very important, so let's get a quick update to see what our fearless leaders in DC are doing to help us. Then there'll be some updates on my massive nationwide small business awareness campaign to help your business not only survive, but once again thrive. But before I go any further, you guys already know this. I have a team of outstanding lawyers. Clyde keeps them chained up so they don't escape. These lawyers get a little rowdy when I want to make a video. They don't want to calm these lawyers down. To give a quick disclaimer, the opinions in this video, they're exactly that. They're opinions. It's entertainment purposes only. I'm not a lawyer, not a financial advisor, not legal financial tax advice. You get the point. Okay, enough of that. Let's get to today's video. As you know, small businesses were promised a minimum of a $10,000 cash advance and a $2 million loan, depending on the size of your business, of course, back in the CARES Act. I've covered this many times, and I have great details and background if any of you guys want to know more information, and you can check out the previous videos if you're a little confused what the EIDL program is. But for most of you that's been keeping along with this, you already know what's going on. Earlier this week, we covered just how the SBA was finally starting to get through the backlog of EIDL applications. They're still way behind, but they've kind of streamlined the process.
EIDL loan applications are being reviewed in a different part of the SBA now. We don't know the full details there, but we assume it's an area that had more capacity, more bandwidth, more people to review loan applications. Over the past week, an average of 20,000 applications have been reviewed per day. Do you have any guesses on what it was before? Remember, the last data we had before today was that there had been 30,000 EIDL loan increases approved and 30,000 new EIDL loans approved. That was from June 24th. So what we heard today was that prior to last week, the SBA was reviewing around 2,000 EIDL loan applications per day. Imagine that, 2,000 per day. They've 10x'd it now to 20,000 applications per day. That's based on what they've reported. We haven't been able to independently confirm it based on reports. And since this is relatively new, of course, we don't know if this has staying power. Will they be able to keep up this pace?
Okay, for anybody that watched Monday's video, you already knew this, but I wanted to make sure everybody was caught up and on the same page. Moving on, we were blindsided Tuesday and Wednesday with reports that Congress had decided to take billions of dollars in unused EIDL money from the SBA and repurpose that to cover some of their bipartisan infrastructure bill expenses. On the surface, that seems kind of reasonable. Rather than trying to increase taxes or have the government borrow more money, it's usually wise to kind of check under the sofa cushions, see if there's any spare change laying around. The Business Journal reported, the newly unveiled bipartisan infrastructure legislation has hundreds of billions of dollars in projects, but it's paid for in part by cutting funding to the Small Business Administration's COVID-19 Small Business Rescue Programs. This includes $13.5 billion being cut from the SBA EIDL program. Now, it's normal for Congress to kind of cut or take back unused funds from a federal agency. And Congress initially gave the SBA $50 billion back in 2020, but that quickly ballooned out to $367+ billion. Over the past 16 months, the agency has approved roughly 3.8 million loans totaling $236 billion just for that part. The agency started to slow down a lot of their approvals right around the election time. However, the pace has slowly started to speed up in the past couple days, growing to more than $5 billion a week in approvals and having roughly $7.5 billion given out in the past 2 weeks. This legislation would also take back $17.5 billion from the EIDL Advance program. That was the $10,000 advance grant program that many of you guys were trying to get. However, the problem is this money has been unspent in the past 16 months due to the incompetence, the stonewalling, and the delays from the SBA. A vast majority of these dollars could have already been allocated to the millions of small businesses that are still in the queue waiting to be approved, or any of the countless that were unjustly denied either because the IRS refused to provide their tax returns, or any of a number of other stupid government-based failures in the processing application. Then, just as we begin to wrap our brains around this, we see Bloomberg reporting there are more cuts coming to business support. And this is the Employee Retention Tax Credit, worth $28,000 per employee if you keep them on payroll during 2021. And this would end September 30th under the current legislation that is sitting and waiting for Senate to pass. This would cost America's small businesses an estimated $550 billion in tax savings over the next year. Of course, while this does suck, in reality this was a tax cut that was never really intended to last forever. So I guess I understand why it's going away. And on the other side of things, I do believe that the vast majority of taxes paid both by the American people and by the American businesses are far too high already. But that's an entirely different topic that's worthy of its own video. Back to EIDL for a minute. Wednesday afternoon, CNBC sat down and they did some calculations. And they feel that the cuts to the EIDL funding is not exactly as we all initially feared on Tuesday.
We've also heard, and this is also on CNBC, as well as bizjournal.com and many other publications, there was a total of $30 billion of the targeted EIDL advance and $5 billion of the supplemental when you add the American Rescue with the prior administration. In total, there was $30 billion of targeted EIDL advance, $5 billion of the supplemental $5K. As of the last COVID EIDL report that I pinned a few days ago, they have spent about $2.5 billion of $30 billion, and they've spent a little over $1 billion, close to $1.5 billion of the $5 billion supplemental. So if you take away $17.5 billion, you already spent $2.5 billion, that's 20. So if we're right and the number is actually $30 billion, 30 minus 20 leaves $10 billion, as I said yesterday, for the $10,000 targeted EIDL advance. And yes, you must be in a low-income community, suffer a 30% loss, and have 300 or less employees. There still is, because there's absolutely nothing referenced specifically in this bill related to the supplemental. There's still 3.5 of the $5 billion there. So if you add it all up, there is approximately $13.5 billion.
It looks like the SBA still has the money to continue to fund EIDL applications, at least for a little while. But the promise, or maybe more accurately, the hope and the dream that the SBA would finally begin to give EIDL advance money to businesses not within that stupid low-income community area, that, sadly, probably is not going to happen. So if your business is not within that completely arbitrary low-income area requirement, then basically, you just got shafted by the administration. As I've said multiple times over the past week, I'm not giving up, but I am pivoting. Rather than waiting for the federal government to save all of us, I want to spend more time on this channel doing what I can to help all of your small businesses flourish. This brings me to an update to my Open for Business nationwide small business awareness campaign. Along with a team of incredible entrepreneurs, we are taking off on a road trip of sorts where we will go and visit many of you at your office and give your business the platform to be able to advertise your services to millions of people. I am committing a lot of my own personal money and time into this awareness campaign to bring more customers to your business. But I still need your help. Share this video with your friends and get everyone you know to subscribe and watch the videos. And help get the word out. I really need to break the 50,000 subscriber count and over 1 million views to encourage my sponsors to assist us in financing this very costly campaign that helps your businesses. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said, click like, subscribe, share with your friends. Doing so helps the YouTube algorithm as well. Thanks, and I'll see you on the next one.